What's going on, guys? It's Jamie, aka the FUT Economist, coming at you guys today with what I think is going to be the start of a new series on my channel, and I think we're going to call it Market Watch. Essentially what I'm going to do in this series is take a look at the market, take a look at the market summary that I've created. I put a lot of these on Twitter, and links to my Twitter down in the description below, by the way, and we'll talk about why the prices of different indexes of cards, 83 rated gold cards, expensive gold cards, whatever you have moved the way that they've moved, where they could go in the future, and then we'll talk about current events, some of the promos that EA are running and how that could affect prices in the future, and then hopefully we'll take some sort of like selected topic and talk about it for a little bit at the end. So the three things that we're going to be talking about today are obviously the way the prices moved over the past 48 hours and 7 days. Then we'll talk about SBC that just came onto the market that EA just released that is yielding on average a profit, and you guys definitely want to make sure you guys go ahead and do that. We'll talk about some ways that you guys can make some coins off of this Barcelona FUT Champions event that has just come out. And then finally, we're actually going to take four things actually. Finally, we're going to take a look at some of the events that are going to be coming up in the near future that could move markets. So why don't we hop right into it? So as you can see on the screen right now, we've got our market summary. Again, if you guys want to get more of these market summaries, the goal is to put these on my Twitter every other day. So if you guys want a link to that, my Twitter link will be down in the description. But just as we're looking at this market summary here, some of the bigger takeaways are the movement of the cheap 83s and 84s. That's kind of interesting. I think there was a bit of a overhyped buyback of the cheap 83s and 84s with the one to watch promotion, the potential for that coming up. Obviously, sort of as the 7-day change, that was more of a reaction to them falling down from the Team of the Year prices. Obviously because they were inflated because of the Team of the Week SBCs. The cheap 85s are an interesting one. 86s through 88s are also interesting as well because the icon SBCs have helped them recover. That was an investment that we talked about on Twitter and on stream a lot. That was a really, really good look for those of you that were able to get on that. Honestly, I still think there's just a little bit of room on those if you guys haven't got in on them yet. And with, as you can see, some of the events that are coming up soon, with the release of new icon SBCs probably next Thursday, that could still be a decent look. Some of the interesting ones are non-central icons have gone up substantially and are way, way above what they normally sit at, and I think the reason for that, honestly, is because the prime Ronaldinho, which is performing exceptionally in this FUT Champions Barcelona thing that they have going on, requires a lot of non-central icons, and I think that's why those guys are so expensive right now. So I would stay away from those. If you have them in your club as investments, definitely look to sell those on. Same thing with the central icons, they're expensive as well. And one of the things I would say about some of the, I know a lot of you guys are holding on to your investments right now. As we get down further down the list, we take a look at some of the investment grade things that a lot of you guys would have put your money in during Team of the Year. So like the expensive icons, the expensive golds, expensive informs, they have all risen pretty substantially because of a Team of the Year recovery. Obviously, this is something that a lot of people talk about right after Team of the Year. People coming out of Team of the Year, they have a lot of coins that they've acquired through opening up all the packs during those promos, and then when they get all those coins, their buying power increases. When buying power increases, they can shift their demand to those higher level players, make their teams better, which is why some of those guys are going up. So the question that we have to answer then is, when do we sell our investments from Team of the Year? Well, if you're not keeping them for your team and you want to sell them and get some other, some other card, right? Some that would fit into your team. This weekend, believe it or not, is actually not a bad look because especially if you have one that's going for a good price right now or has increased a lot in price because of the FUT Champs event, like their performance in this FUT Champs event from Barcelona. A lot of them, as we'll talk about in a little bit, have risen in price because their performance, and they've done really, really well in front of 80,000 viewers on Twitch as these pro players play with those players. And the reason I say you might want to sell them now or start selling some of your high-end investments like the expensive informs, expensive golds, and those expensive icons is because there are some events coming up in the future that could push prices down again. And there are events coming up even further in the future that could spook people into thinking that, sort of like a pre-crash kind of deal. And those events are the one-to-watch, potential for a one-to-watch promotion. I actually did not put it on the events that will move prices, but that should be on there. The one-to-watch, as we talked about in the last video, the one-to-watch SBCs and the potential for those one-to-watch SBCs, the winter versions of the winter release, if you will, when those come, when people take their, their money and their coins rather, and they put them into SBCs like that, usually, unless it's like a Team of the Week SBC, in the case like this last time where they actually ended up making profit, usually it's a net loss in terms of buying power. When you turn in all of those 83s and those one to watch cards and those informs for those SBCs, usually you're going to be losing coins. And I would suspect that this one to watch promotion was going to do something similar, in the sense that when people are doing this SBC, they're actually going to be losing coins in the majority of the time. And when that happens, people are forfeiting value in their clubs, and buying power goes down. So that's something that could trigger a dip in the prices of some of these cards. Now, that being said, that could be sort of countered by people opening up packs during that one to watch promotion, which could sort of bring back a little bit of buying power. But I think as a whole, it's going to be more towards tilted towards people losing coins. Obviously other things that can move prices for some of the investments are the icon SBCs next Thursday. So if you're holding on to the 84 through 88s, then you can start thinking about selling those on. Although I would hold on to 84s and 85s. And the reason I would hold on to 84s and 85s is because as we look at, and as I've been reflecting on the potential strength of the one to watch summer team that is probably going to go back into packs, if you will, with the SBCs that we talked about in last video, they could actually have an 85 overall requirement for that team. So it could be like for that tradable one to watch summer guarantee, they could have an 85 overall with a one to watch or maybe two one to watches, right? Because it's a really, really competitive team. So I would hold on to your 84s, I would hold on to your 85s. Your 86s and 88s, though, you might want to sell them on when we have the drop of the next icon SBC, which is most likely going to be coming next Thursday. And then finally, long term, and the reason that I would start to suggest to sell maybe some of your higher performing or your more expensive investments now is because Lunar New Year is likely going to come sometime around the 16th of February, and that's something that is sort of dangerous for those high-priced cards. Because for those of you that don't remember, the Lunar New Year event is a time where EA, to celebrate the Chinese New Year, will give out 50% packs or reduced coin price packs. Now, they are still horrible deals, and if you guys take a look at my pack spreadsheet, you'll know that 9 times out of 10 you're still going to lose coins on those reduced priced packs. But people like to do them with coins. It's just something they like to do, and that is a direct forfeit of value of buying power, and that's something that last year brought the market way down. Really gave it a knock. And the only things that did not take a hit were the super high-end cards like the Team of the Year Messi's and the some of the legends that were on Xbox. So that's just something sort of like in the nearest sort of term. And honestly, and that was one of the things I was talking about earlier, the Lunar New Year event could cause a pre-crash. There's a potential for people to get nervous enough that could cause a pre-crash ahead of that Lunar New Year. So I still think you can have at least a 2-week window to sell on. You could sell right like this weekend if you have some of those higher end guys, expensive informs from previous weeks and stuff like that, and be completely fine. Whether or not you want to sell your whole team, I wouldn't. I don't think it's going to be that dramatic of a crash, if I'm honest. I think people are sort of playing or know that it's coming, and I don't think they've overbought as much as they have last year. I still think, obviously, we're seeing a pretty significant recovery right now, but I do think people are cognizant of it. You're probably going to see like a 10 to 15% dip, and that's just something I think is fine to have if you just want to keep it in your team, because the reality is you would lose 5% anyway selling those cards. So a 10% dip is not something that's all too much to stomach. And then as you see up in the right there, on the right hand corner above me, I have a picture, or a screenshot rather, of a SBC. And the reason I have that is because that SBC, which can be done for roughly 7K, 7.5K, depending on the console you're on, you could actually get it done for like 6K or whatever it was. What was it on that? You can get it for like 6K on PS. Is really interesting because EA presumably are going to be releasing them, for all 3 days of their Barcelona Foot Champs promotion. So for the next 2 days, including today, for the next 2 days plus today, they presumably are going to be releasing SBCs to celebrate this event. And the reason I'm bringing them up is because these, on average, yield a profit. So assuming you can get that done for 7K, 7.5K, the reward is a rare Electrum Players Packs, which, according to my pack spreadsheet that I know a lot of you guys are familiar with, this card's for just around 5K, and then the average selling price of those cards is 7.9 0.35 or something like that. So even with very, very poor luck, you're going to be making a profit. As you guys can see, I didn't have great luck in my pack. My best player was Peachcheck, and then a Tunes was actually someone that was going for a surprisingly high amount. I think it's because of his strong link with Ronaldo, but my selling price for this pack was 9,400 coins according to Footbin. So I made a profit and had, as you can see, very, very average pack luck. So if any of you guys have any decent, pack luck, this is, definitely something to keep an eye on. And then finally, one thing I want to talk about, you guys, is the potential for you guys to make some coins based off of the player performances of some of the players that the pros are using in this Barcelona event. One thing that happened last year, and I just want to hop over to the screen right now, is we're looking at the price of Team of the Year Messi from FIFA 17. Right around the first event, which was the Paris event, I think was one of the pro players in the final, I believe. Team of the Year Messi like carried him, and it was like his finesse shots. He would basically cut inside and take a finesse shot, and it went in like a ridiculous number of times. And because of that, I think the hype around Messi, and there's a couple other players too, but Messi was probably the best example. The hype around him like rose quite significantly. As you can see, the event happened in early February, and then after early February on, he just continued to rise in price. And events like this are big, right? Because these are the all of the best players playing against each other, best 64 players on each console in Europe, and they're all playing against each other right now, and it's like a really good sort of testing ground to see which players are going to be the best, right? Because normally, if we're being honest, they back out against each other in regular foot champs, so they don't really get a chance to play against each other all that often. But now that they are, I think some of the good players are showing through their true colors. And I got a chance to watch some of the games today, and some of the things that immediately popped, like some of the players rather that I thought were performing well and were getting a lot of airtime from the announcers who were talking about the players and how well they're performing was Rio Ferdinand, the prime Rio Ferdinand. Or maybe, actually don't know if it was the prime, excuse me. It was whatever the best prime Ferdinand is right now. The prime Ronaldinho, and then the prime Vieira. They were getting a lot of airtime, and if you guys can afford players like that, and if you are thinking about getting them into your team at some point, maybe you have to make a couple of sacrifices to get them right now. I do think you would want to get them because they are performing so tremendously well right now at these tournaments that if they continue to do that over the next coming days, they could become players that people look to add to their team sort of as staple players, which obviously, just like Team of the Year Messi, as you guys can saw last year, could push up their prices and hold them there over the long term. And obviously you want to be watching the actual event itself. One, to make sure that if there's any sleeper picks or something like that, if someone's using like the Inform Lozano or something like that, or like Alessandrini, his price will shoot up for sure. Or if there's any sort of like sleeper picks, right? Like if Messi makes a resurgence again, or someone starts using like Van Basten, someone like random like that. If anyone even gets a little bit of airtime, that could push prices up, and especially if he's doing well with him. And then finally, obviously, for those of you that were in the chat today, it was sort of amusing because people were spamming exclamation mark reward, exclamation mark Vieira, because EA were giving away a prime Vieira to like one lucky winner in the Twitch comment section today if you had linked to your Twitch and your EA account. I have a video on how to do that if you guys are still interested, somewhere on the channel. Yeah, so that was kind of amusing. The odds of actually getting that Prime Vieira are like literally 1 in like 90,000 because of all the people that are actually watching it. But anyway, yeah, so that's pretty much the market summary. Let me know what you guys think of this general series format. I'm curious if sort of like the format, how I present it, if there's anything that you guys would change. Would this be helpful to you guys? Should this be something that I continue on my channel? If you guys like this video, found it helpful, I would appreciate a like rating. If not, a dislike rating. But yeah, other than that, it's been Jamie, aka the FUT Economist. I forgot to say subscribe, so if you guys are new around here, you should subscribe. But keep your trade piles full, stay rational, and I'll see you guys again in the next video.